but the messenger is what they're relating to now. They're getting it from a black guy, which they didn't really get it from before. Like rap, you point out in your book too, that rap, it's the first time you could actually, in your lifetime, see the whole thing develop. Like, you saw this whole, you know, it went from like a couple of goofy kind of guys rhyming all the way then into Run DMC. And then you went into like a, you know, different
Tupac
rap stars.
And Biggie.
And you saw the thing become a real art form and become a way of like the telephone, telling people what's going on in your neighborhood. And then all of a sudden white kids are relating to it. It's got to be mind-blowing. And so you start to make money and all that. And that's why I was curious about the art world and Oprah. That's a world you don't come from. When you go into those situations now and you're mixing it up with these wealthy people, do you find there are times you don't know what to do? You don't know the etiquette? You haven't been raised in that environment?
No, because I myself in any room I'm in.
You never embarrassed yourself?
No, of course not.
You never walked in and said, "Oh, everybody thinks I'm ignorant here. I'm stupid."
I don't feel ignorant.
Right.
You know, I don't.
Right.
I felt like I came up in a situation, or a time, you know, where I wasn't afforded certain opportunities, and if afforded opportunities, I could be Oprah, I could be Bill Gates, I could be Warren Buffett. I think the thing that separates us too is the opportunity. They were given opportunities, or they had access to opportunities.
Absolutely.
That I didn't.
Well, that's why when people aren't for what do you call it, equal opportunity stuff, where some kids from the ghetto get to go to college and all this, it really pisses me off. Affirmative action. I couldn't think of the word. That pisses me off because when I read about the life of Bill Gates, what did Bill Gates have that some poor kid didn't have? He had access to computers as a kid. He had more computer time than anyone, and that's expensive to get. You can't go in and get access to computers at that point in his life when he got access to them. You had to go buy lab time, and it cost a fortune. He had a father who was able to get him into the lab for free, and that's the difference.
Right.
So you need those opportunities.
Absolutely.
And they're hard to get.
And so when you walk into a boardroom with a bunch of guys in suits who all went to college, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, because they read a bunch of words. I've lived a bunch of life.
Well, that's true. Their law degree doesn't intimidate you, in other words.
It kind of evens us out, whether they know it or not.
Where do you think you get that self-esteem from? Seriously. I mean, most guys...
My mom, first and foremost. But then just living life. Like, you know, being in real situations and happen to be a person of high integrity and honesty and, you know...
When you go back to the projects... Do you run into guys that you knew back then who are even down on their luck now? Do you get self-conscious about your wealth and about your success?
A sort of a survivor's guilt with the world, with where I come from. You know, that's why, for me, I try to stay attached to the culture and everything I do.
Can you, though? How do you stay attached to the culture when all your friends are looking at you with the evil eye?
It's very difficult, but, you know, I know where that comes from. So, you know, I can have a different attitude about it. You know, I don't let my success separate me from who I am.
But how do you stay in touch with the culture? Seriously, where do you go? You can't go to... I saw you at a hotel one time. I didn't bother you. We were staying at the same hotel. You and Beyonce were like, you had 20 security guards around you. I was there with my wife.
2.
Well, you know, I'm exaggerating.
Well, they were big.
Yeah. Two big guys. They looked like the size of 12 guys.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to say anything
I'm
to you.
just really sensitive to that, you know, because I don't want people to think we're traveling with a posse.
Sorry, but you know what I'm saying. Like I don't see how a guy as famous as you.
No, you don't have to be sitting on a bench in Marcy Projects to represent the culture.
Where do you go?
Everywhere I am, right here, right now. Me telling our story is representing the culture. I'm pushing our culture forward. I'm bringing a light on the subject again that people would normally talk about because it's going on right now. With the passage of years, but with the passage of years, don't you think you sort of forget?
Lose touch?
You lose touch. You got to. It's going to happen. You're living a fairy tale life. Of course. I don't sit on the bench in Marcy Projects. I've lost touch in that way. Right. But who I am as a person, you know, I'm still telling these stories as if they happened yesterday. Right. I'm still in touch with those emotions and feelings of who I am, as if they were yesterday. You know, the only way I've lost touch in those terms is I don't sit on a bench in Marcy Projects. I have no need to. I ran into you somewhere, and Rihanna she had really never even been heard of at this point. And you walked up to me and said, "That's my artist." And I was struck by that. I'd never forget those words. That's my artist. I was like, wow.
he owns that woman.
Right.
Like, that's my artist. And you were proud, man. And you were like, wow, this is a discovery of mine. And then she exploded. And then, you know, she lit up. How hands-on are you in terms of managing her career?
Well, we actually manage her now. We didn't manage her in the beginning. I signed her as an artist on Def Jam.
How'd you know? Where do you meet? Where do you find a girl like that?
She actually walked into my office. She has a lawyer, Scott Felcher, and he knew Jay Brown, who works with me as well. I mean, today.
When you say she walked into your office, no one can just walk into your office. She got an appointment. Why? Somebody had scoped her out?
Scott Felcher, her lawyer, knew Jay Brown, who works with me, and they made the introduction. He played him the song, Upon the Replay, which was her first single she had already. And she walked into the office, and you know, I heard the record, and I was really afraid of the record. It was so big that I thought the record would be bigger than her.
Right.
I thought the record, she would be the Upon the Replay girl.
Forever.
Yeah, but I took the meeting anyway. I said, let me just meet her. And
beautiful
when
girl.
I met her that day, I knew she was a star. Like, just her look, the way she walked into a room and her confidence, and she performed in my office.
And she was, what, 17 years old at that point?
She was 16.
16. I know. She looks like a woman at 16, and she has the confidence of it. She's like an old soul in a sense, right?
Absolutely.
So she walks in your office, and what, she just belts out a tune?
Belts out a tune, she performs, and I tell her, there's no way out of this office. I signed her that day.
Wow. Wow. And then when she's your artist, she must be generating a fortune, right?
Yeah, well.
I mean, if you retired tomorrow, you could just run her career and make a ton of dough. Am I correct?
No.
I'm wrong?
No, I have expensive tastes.
Oh, you do? What are the expensive tastes? What are the expensive tastes? I know I saw you at an expensive hotel hanging out in vacation.
There you go.
Right.
That's how it starts.
You don't seem to. Whenever I read about you in the paper, you're on a yacht somewhere. You
don't ever work.
It looks like you're just having one big party. You barely work.
Yeah.
So when you say expensive taste, you got a big home?
No.
Where do you live?
Nice, small, in Tribeca.
Oh, you live in Tribeca?
A little tiny apartment.
You kidding? I didn't know you were from around here. I thought like you moved out to L.A. or something.
No.
You don't have multiple homes somewhere?
No, one little tight apartment. Well, a couple apartments in the city.
I'm a little shocked. Why a tight apartment? Why not have like a nice big place?
It's not really tight.
He's BSing you.
How many square feet is it?
About 12,000.
Yeah. That ain't a small
building.
And then when you go around, you stay at hotels and things. You don't own different properties and things like that. That's not your thing.
No.
So what's the expensive taste there? Okay, so one nice apartment, maybe a couple apartments. What's the expensive taste? What are you doing?
I'm not doing much.
What do you got? You got a private jet?
No.
So what's the expensive taste? What, cars?
I was kind of joking.
Oh, you were? Because it seems like you're living a simple life.
Well, not so simple.
You have desires and ambitions. You don't just want to sit on what you've got.
Absolutely.
You want to do things. You want to be that entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, and have that sort of, raise some spoiled kids, lead that generation to the next generation and create a whole new dynamic for myself, my friends, their families, just to change that whole generational thing.
How much is that watch you're wearing? What is that, a Rolex?
No, it's just a plain Rolex.
Oh, it's just a plain Rolex?
Yeah.
I'm a little shocked.
Yeah.
No, I know. Rolex is an expensive watch.
Yes.
You have spent hours talking to President Obama. You say in your book, if President Obama hadn't won the election, you would have left the country and you would have lived as an expatriate. You would have just said,
where are you going?
Yeah, where are you going? For number one.
Monaco.
Really?
Is Monaco so great? Why Monaco?
Oh, the taxes maybe would have made up for the fact that I miss America.
You would have been really disappointed. Not the idea, I get the feeling that just because it was a black president, but because George Bush had gone down, the country was a mess, and to go to McCain and your feeling was kind of like more of the same. We need something. We need some difference.
I travel the world, so I watched the feeling towards America change, and I'm sure you've seen the same thing.
Yes.
Like, it used to be a thing, like, you're from America, and it was exciting. And then, it became this thing like Americans, and it's like dumb Americans.
Right.
Because how could you elect George Bush twice?
Right. Right. It was like, man, you Americans are real assholes.
Yeah.
We have you to blame.
And then it was like wars going on, and we were trying to impose our will with people. Before, when we had an opinion, people respected it. And even if they didn't necessarily agree with it, they respected our opinion. Now it's like, you're butting in our business. And that caused, and then all these wars was popping up, and it was just getting worse and worse. And I knew what that meant for, our generation.
You said you had several hours of discussion with Obama. Now, this is when he was still senator, right? This was before he ran, or was this while he was running?